How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another Trailmakers video with me, that Dom guy. Today we are going to be, just like that thumbnail says, Hoverpad magic. Now, you guys, some of you guys may already know some of these. I don't want to call them glitches, they're just tricks, I guess, ways of using the physics in the game to your advantage. So some of you may know this, some of you may not, and for those that don't, this could be really handy. And even some of you that may think you know, maybe you're not, maybe you don't know all of it. So let's take a look at it. So what I've got here is some different stages. We're going to jump in one, we're going to disconnect, and this is the one that we're going to start with. So this little one right here, sorry about the Hoverpad noise, they always make noise, and this one here is on skis, so it's going to slowly drift away, but that's alright, we'll bring that back. So when you place Hoverpads like this face to face, and this is something that I learned from Little Corn Dogs, so I'll put a link in the description down to his channel. Go check it out. It was very useful. I've been playing with it for a few months ever since I watched that video. So go check it out. Show him some love. We're going to put them face to face like this, and then when we jump in our seat, what we've done here is we've turned the one that's at the back. If we look here, this one here is space. So when I hit the space bar, just the space bar, it turns this one off, because when you get in the seat, you know Hoverpads are not active until you get in the seat. Getting into the seat is what turns them on. So when we turn this one off by hitting space, that means this one is pushing against this one, which is now off. And because Hoverpads, they have more push than their own weight, because they need to be able to support weight, right? So using that against each other, they're unaware of their orientation, whether they're pushing against the ground or pushing against anything. So when they're face to face like this, you get this effect of turn one off and it pushes you in the other one's direction, because the one is now acting like a little thruster. But you'd think, well, it looks like it's moving pretty slow, you know, 9 kilometers an hour is not very fast, that's not very useful. No, but maybe if you were to put it on skis, do you think it would go any faster? Maybe it's the friction on the ground that's stopping it. So let's come over here and, oh look, there he goes, way over there. We'll jump in this one, and you notice as soon as I get in the seat, it stops drifting, because they also add a bit of torque, outside, external torque, to whatever they're connected to. So two of these connected together would make a great parachute if you could keep them horizontal, and just a seat with a couple of strings with you hanging underneath it, it would actually slow you down a lot. There's a lot of drag. So let's do the same thing here, but with skis on. Oh, you'd think it would actually go faster, right? There's less resistance. But like I said, that external torque, when they're active like this, when they're face to face, they actually give off an external torque effect, so you can only go 9 kilometers an hour. So the resistance of that last one we just looked at, dragging on the ground and still moving at 9 kilometers an hour, was actually pretty good. That's actually resisting a lot of drag from the ground with a full 8x4 block. So as you can see, these don't get you going any faster, but that's because they're facing vertically. If we were to place them horizontally, like this setup here, we place them horizontally, and now we want to be lifted upwards, so we just turn the bottom two off with space, and we get this effect. Now these are how Corn Dogs was using them in his video. He was using them as lifters, because they actually have quite a bit of strength lifting. And as you can see how slow I'm falling? I'm not touching anything. So they have a lot of resistance when they're face to face like this, a lot of external torque that keeps them from wanting to fall down. Mind you, as soon as you turn sideways, they'll just cut right through the air and down to the ground. So by hitting space, we go up, let go of space, we slowly come down. But this whole side-to-side thing is undesirable, shall we say. So we can simply take that and turn it into a drone. So we can have 4 of them here. It's hard to lean forward. Now it's hard to lean to the side, because again, they act like torque. It's almost like having spinning helicopter engines. But as you can see, we're drifting just like we were on Hoverpads, like we were on the ground. We have no control or steering or anything like that. So that's one way that you can make a hovercraft, I guess, where you're not relying on the ground being there. Now the trick is, see, we're going to keep falling to the ground, right? And that's no good. We don't want that. So what we can do with this is we can simply take this. We're going to take some speed sensors, and let's say for the sake of visibility, we'll put them on the outside here. We're going to put them facing up. We're going to put one on each corner. We're going to hold down left control, double click, select all of these, and we're going to set these to 0.1. And we want them trigger below. So at 0.1, it does nothing. Oh, we want trigger below. Come on now. There we go. Alright, so and what we want to do is, when this corner starts to fall, we want it to turn the bottom one off. So the top one pushes down. So like this. So we'll just connect these to the bottom on each corner. Like that. And like this. Oh, no. This one and this one. And now we will build it in. Oh, we keep going up. I'm not touching nothing. So if I hit space, we go up. And as soon as we try and fall, it turns them on. Now, as you can see, this thing's pretty light. So it's just keep on lifting us up and up and up. But if the craft were any heavier whatsoever, here, let's go down to the ground. As you see, as soon as you get out of the seat, they fall. So, if we were to put some weight on here, for example. As an example, let's put some weight underneath in the middle, like this. So we can go up with space, and if it was staying level, it wouldn't want to fall down either. So see, it just wants to keep, now that's just a weight sliding us forward. So there's a hovercraft that doesn't rely on the ground for the hoverpads to have something to push off of, because they've got other hoverpads to push off. Again, just using seat steering here. So again, to cancel this sideways drift, go back into build mode, and we'll simply, we've got a little gap in the front here. Again, speed sensors. And this is where we get to add some small thrusters. So facing this way, facing that way. Again, we'll set these to 0.1. Copy these to the back. You want the 4 sets. You probably could do it with just 2, but then you'll end up spinning at some point in time. You need 4 points to counter. And these are going to be set, hopefully as well, to 0.1. Yes, they are. We don't want to trigger below, we want to trigger above, because we're actually using the direction that they're facing. Whereas these are the opposite direction that they're facing. When we fall down, we set it to trigger below. That way it functions properly. This way also lets us continue to go up without the hoverpads fighting. Alright, so once we have our sensors set in there to the left and right, we're going to use some of our new tiny little mini thrusters here on the sides. So we don't need a lot of thrust, we just need something that's going to stop us from moving when we're almost standing still to begin with. So, let's set these like this. Again, double click on all of these. We want to remove the controls from there because we'll be hitting space to go up if we need to, or if you want to use space for your forward thrust, or W for your forward thrust, but then W again, you'll want to remove your seat controls so that your creation isn't leaning forwards. So this one here we're going to set to this thruster, because if we're drifting this way, this one here is going to stop us. Same thing here, we want to set this thruster to this sensor, and vice versa, all the way around the 4 sides. Like this, we'll build that in, we'll jump in, let's go up a little bit. We are still drifting, those little mini thrusters don't have a lot of oomph. See if we can basically level ourselves out, but see, they will. Yeah, now we're just drifting forward and backwards. We're not drifting sideways anymore, though. You can say they are firing, keeping us straight. So we'll basically do the same thing for forward and backwards, using those small thrusters. so that we can add bigger thrusters that will actually push us forward or sideways if we choose to. And if you put a angle sensor in here, you can also use them, right? So even if you were to set it to, like, say 177 and 90 for direction, this is for your forward. Set these to your bottom ones. For the back, again, your bottom ones. There you go. Now you're not going to be able to tilt forwards or backwards. So they work great for stabilizers. You can put them again on the front and the back for the left and right leaning, and just set them to the left and to the right, and you'd have a very stable. See, if you get out of the seat, the hover pads aren't on anymore, so the only thing functioning now are those sensors and the angle sensors. But again, you can see the torque in the hover pads themselves and how slow they fall. So that's using it for lifting, and then you can stabilize it out, right? So you've got some vertical lift. You use that to build a UFO. That doesn't help you with speed, though. So if you take, now here's this setup here. Now just have a look at this. This is simply 2 offset hover pads. Like, say if it was 4 blocks wide, you're only covering the last section of the block. Important to note that there's nothing underneath the hover pads, and that the servos that the top hover pad is on, the hover pad is connected to the top of the servos. Alright, now really simple configuration. Those servos are simply turning inwards, so it will turn the hover pad, the top hover pad, into the bottom hover pad at 12 degrees. You can do it at 10, it's a little slower, 10, 11, 12, right around there. And when you hit space then, well, it's face this way. When you hit space then, you get this effect. Which again doesn't seem, it's faster than 9 kilometers an hour. It's only 41 kilometers an hour, so this isn't really necessarily a glitch, more than a, I guess, just distorting the physics, the effects that the hover pads have. So it's as simple as that. So that's with resistance on the ground, but these, unfortunately, or fortunately I should say, do not require, they don't have the torque that the vertical hover pads have when they're face to face. So we can put a couple of skis under here, like this, and let's see what we get. Oh, all of a sudden we're doing 160 kilometers an hour in a heartbeat. It's not a super outlandish glitch where you're doing 1,000 miles an hour. You can put a couple of these together if you want to go a little faster. And this is with no aerodynamics either, right? So keep in mind here that we're not, we have no slope pieces on this whatsoever. So basically, as long as we keep, oh, and we have no vertical stabilization either here, so we're starting to do a little drift. So what you can do is you can take 2 of these and put them back to back, and then you have a forward propulsion engine similar to the electric flying fish. So you can see the body parts, the body segments here are just that exact same configuration that I just showed you, except they're back to back. They turn inwards. We have some steering stabilizers in the middle here, some helicopter engines as well. So this doesn't use any thrust. But you can see how stable it is in the air. Like when I'm not using it, it falls very slow. The sails help, of course. So just those hover pads are all I'm using for forward propulsion. So we're doing 300 kilometers an hour, and it's nice and stable, fully controllable. There's no thruster trails, there's no loud, you know, nothing like that. This is more stealthy. So you can build these into a UFO, a fairly flat surface, you know, with maybe 3 or 4 blocks thick. make a nice big round UFO. That would be maybe something like, this. So fairly flat. You can see the pattern kind of hides all the complicated stuff that's visible that I couldn't cover up, but from underneath you can see where the open holes are for the propulsion system, which are UFO pads, and the lifting, which is all done by the UFO pads as well. So UFO up, UFO down. The little fire pod on the back here is just to let me know which side is the back. Space is for propulsion. And we have some little mini thrusters in there as well, just for some extra boost. It's mostly powered by those UFO engines. And we can turn like this. And using our stabilizing system with those mini thrusters, give it a second. It stabilizes itself pretty well. We can jump out and watch it fall to the ground, because UFO pads don't work when you're not in the seat. So again, that's a really good example of a use for those hover pads like that, as lifters. Your thrusters, you can just fly. It's all glowy on the bottom, so it's hard to see any detail what it is. Just a big disc in the sky, man. And you can also make gliders on the surface here, like a Tron cycle, perhaps. Something like maybe like a Tron cycle like this, that uses those same hover pads on the inside. You can see I've just put a decal on the outside, and then just hinge the body. There's no wheels, there's no skis, but it doesn't really pay much attention to the friction. And then once you add the aerodynamic parts on there, the only problem with this is it's going so fast that it leaves pretty big gaps in between. It makes for a fairly long trail, leaving that big of a gap. So you could actually trap somebody. There you go, a Tron slug. Tried to do like a racing bike kind of thing, but... Ooh. Ooh. Gotcha. So yeah, there you go. There's a few different ways that you can use those hover pads to your advantage, other than just hovering over land or having to move over water. You can use them to fly in the air, and you can use them to build flying machines, use them as a form of propulsion. If you're looking for this here is actually called a racing snail. I'll upload this to the shop, as well as the UFO, the hovering UFO, glowing UFO, I'm not sure what I'm going to call that, and the electric flying fish. I'll put that up on the shop there as well, if it's not there already. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Ciao.